All right, Johnny. Well, here we are again, and just appreciate you being here
Yes, sir.
on behalf of the chamber, and just me personally. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day. You were answering text messages out there from the guys at the shop, and I know they need you there, but thank you for being here.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I've gotten to know you pretty well here past couple of years, last year really, but just for the people that may not know who Johnny Turner is and what you do and your involvement in Limestone County, just take a few minutes and tell us if you don't mind.
Sure. Give you a little background. I've been in the county commission for District 2 for about a year and a half. When I ran, my commitment was I was going to be the most transparent politician in Limestone County, and put me in there. My background was I went to Calhoun when I got out of high school. Spent 2 years there, and then went to University of Alabama and got a degree in business. Left there and went into the corporate world, and I've spent 20 plus years in the corporate world. And then the opportunity came open for me to go to work in the congressional office. So I made the decision to go to work for the congressional office and spent 12 years working as a district representative for 5th District in North Alabama. Folks in mainly owned Limestone and Limestone and Morgan County. After there, I retired from the federal government, and as you know, I've got a 7-year-old, and my Amber said I was too young and too healthy to stay at home. I needed to get a job, so I made the decision to run for the county commission slot that Danny Barksdale wasn't running for again. And during my period of time, both in the corporate world and in working for the congressional office, I've been involved in the community. I've served on multiple nonprofit boards, Mental Health Foundation for North Central Alabama. I've served on the board of directors for the Mental Health Center of North Central Alabama. Did a short stint on Big Brothers Big Sisters board, and currently I serve on the Lindsay Lane Christian Academy board. And the business aspect of it, I served as on the board of directors of a community bank, involved in making decisions for the community bank. I was one of the minor shareholders, probably the smallest shareholder in the bank, but enough to get that qualified to be on the board. And in the world of politics, I've been active in politics since my 20s. I was a statewide young Republican officer. Served in Young Republicans, worked there in operations there. I have been the county chairman of a county before for a Republican Party county executive committee. Served on the state executive committee, and I have currently am on the state executive committee and the Limestone County executive committee. So I've had a wide background as a volunteer in the political world, but this is the first political position I've had, the commission race that I've got right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the most important aspect I would say of my family is my family. Amber and I met about 11 years ago. I was a widower and she was a single mom, and we got married, and church played matchmaker and put us in the same small group together, and we ended up falling in love and getting married. And about 4 years ago, we adopted Charlotte and raising her. So that's my primary focus is the family, but it's a great opportunity to serve in the community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, Charlotte's just about everywhere. You and Amber are so just out in the community so much. It seems like she's always out there too. So.
Charlotte may be the best politician in the family. When we go somewhere, she's always greeting folks and talking to them. Pull up the park one day, and she says, I want to go play with my friends. And I said, do you know those kids from school? And she said, no, they're friends I haven't met yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so she never meets a stranger. She's always talking to folks. I could see her being in the world of politics at some days, the way she likes to talk.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the first question, I wanted to go into a little bit more detail. You always have people that say, well, he's a lifelong politician. That's not what we need. But I've started to disagree with that. At the county level, you have to have those connections. And you think that might give you a little advantage in this race?
I think it helps that you know people and know how the system works.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the things I told a friend of mine, he said, before I got working for the congressional office, he said, why can you make a phone call and get a return phone call back? And the thing is, whether you like it or not, you're more likely to get a phone call back if they know who you are.
You're right.
That if you already have a relationship and you talk to them, and it helps to be able. You don't always agree with each other. You don't always get what you want. But the fact that you've got a relationship and they know who you are when you're talking to them, I think helps when you go to Montgomery. It helps when you go to D.C. to be able to know the players and know how the system works.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I tend to agree with you there. But you wouldn't be running for chairman if you didn't think there needed to be a change. It's hard to argue with the success that Limestone County's had, but again, you see an opportunity for change and a need for change in Limestone County. So $4 billion in capital investment in the last several years, 6 out of the last 7 years, fastest growing county in the state. Is that just a stroke of luck, or do you think what we're doing isn't sustainable? Why do you think there needs to be a change at the highest level in the county?
We are, as you said, some metrics say 7 out of the last 7, some say 6 out of the 7 fastest growing. We're in the top 50 fastest growing counties in the nation. We're half of all the people moving to Alabama are moving into Madison or Limestone County. We are growing tremendously. We just got Eli Lilly with another $6 billion investment coming into the county. Redstone continues to move federal programs there with FBI, Space Force, different things. We may not like it, but we're going to continue to grow. I honestly think that the growth in the county that we're seeing is, in a lot of ways, in spite of what we're doing, just because of the force of what's going on just to the east of us. Other parts of the country aren't seeing those kind of growths. They're not seeing what's happening. But we are a destination point for folks to move from all over the country here. The question is, can we manage it? Will we manage it? And my argument is that we can't continue to manage the way we did 10 years ago. We have to change the way we handle things, whether it's planning for roads and infrastructure, whether it's money management and the way we handle our finances, or if it's looking at quality of life in our communities. We're not the sleepy rural community that we grew up seeing. And I know some folks aren't happy with that, but it's not going to stop. And we've got to decide how we're going to grow and where we're going to do. I'll give you one example. You're talking about things that I think could be done better. I'll give you an example. When I got into the county commission, one of the first things I ran into was the way we handle our money. We had all our money, reserves and operation money, it appears, in a one account that was drawing 2% interest. I advocated early on and loudly and did research on it to look how we could do things better, that we do a liquidity study and only leave the money that we need for operationals with a safety margin in an account that's basically a checking account. And if the rest of the money we look at putting in CDs or treasuries that we can go out to 3 years on legally. And look, at the time, we could get over 4%. We could average 4% on that money that we had sitting in basically a passbook savings account. And I advocated for that, pushed hard for it. We passed an investment policy for the county, and we moved some money into a 1-year treasury. But we still don't have a plan. There's still no structure that we're going to align the money with a plan for over the next 3 years that we're doing, where we're matching the money to our needs. Those kind of things bother me. It bothers me that we look at our infrastructure and we're reacting to what's going without a plan. Whether it's our animal shelter, whether it's our jail, whether it's infrastructure and the means of roundabouts and widening roads, we just don't seem to have a plan in place that we're doing. We seem to be reacting to it. And I think in the long run, that's going to bite us. That's going to be difficult. I don't want us to end up with the kind of situation we see in some other areas where it's just gridlock because nobody did it. I asked one of the elected officials in Baldwin County, if you could go back 20 years and change, what would you do? What would you change to do it? Because at one time, Baldwin County was the fastest growing county in the state. And one of the things I was told was we would do a better job of planning. And so I think those kind of benchmarks, we need to talk to other counties, other cities, and go, how are you planning? What's worked for you? And then benchmark ourselves against best practices.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. It makes a lot of sense. So when people talk about the commission, their minds automatically go to roads, and we'll get to roads. People wouldn't listen to this if we didn't talk about roads, but it was a surprise to me when I found out the largest part of the county's budget is public safety, and it makes sense the more I thought about it, but initially it was kind of a surprise. So Limestone County is a relatively safe place. You wouldn't be raising a daughter here if you didn't think so.
Right.
But there's always room for improvement. So if you're elected in May and going to win the general election this fall, what are your plans to improve public safety in Limestone County?
As you're right, we're a fairly safe community compared to many others. There's some trouble spots, and as population grows, we're going to have more people come in that aren't the kind of people we want here, but that's just a factor of the growth. Danny Barksdale was county commissioner before me, said we spend half our money on 10% of the people who cause 90% of the problems. and there's a lot of truth to that. Those bad elements are out there that are costing the rest of us money when we try to operate with it. But as you look at going forward, where we want to do it, I've always been a supporter of law enforcement. My brother was a deputy for a while. My first cousin's child is head of a jail in the county he lives in, so I've been around him. I've talked to him, aspect of it.
And you're no stranger to firearms yourself.
No, I have spent, when I was working with the congressional office, multiple times I worked with deputies that were qualifying coming up, and they didn't shoot as much as I did and would ask me, could I work with them to help them get ready for qualifying. Before I became a county commissioner and after I left the congressional office, I raised money to put 2 of the Limestone County deputies through a high-level pistol class to get them more information on how to shoot, how to be involved in handling their weapons. And then once I became a county commissioner, I worked with raising money from outside sources to put 10 deputies through a how to clear a school, how to respond to an active shooter to school, and we had 10 deputies came in. Those 3 things are things I did on my own. I didn't pay for them all, but I went and raised money or solicited donations to try to get those things forward. The county has moved forward in this last budget year of adding 10 more deputies to the sheriff's budget. That's going to be helpful. We're still going to be below national standards in what our manpower is compared to national standards for our population range. It's helped that we don't have a real high crime area. But we are going to have to face continuing constraints and growing on this aspect. We've got often 4 deputies on the road at night. And if you get a call that's any level of violence onto it, domestic violence or violent crime, 2 of those deputies are going to be responding. That's going to leave 2 more deputies covering the entire county. That's not safe for them, I don't think. I don't think it's gives the response time to citizens that you want. If you're in Mooresville and you've got 2 deputies responding in Clements and the closest deputy left on is in Ardmore, and they've got to respond to you, that puts pressure on them. They're going to do the best they can to get there to help us, but that put pressure on it. So we need to to look at sufficient funding and sufficient staffing for the sheriff's department. That's also going to impact us on the jail.
Mm-hmm.
We currently are at capacity of the jail. There are people who get picked up in other states that are wanted for crimes here that we just don't have the capability to get and bring back here because we don't have room to put them. And that means that victims don't get their day in court as the way they should. But we have to have a place to put them. And that bothers me that we built a jail 20 years ago, roughly. And with the growth and we have seen there's capacity issues coming. We're doing the expansion that's should come on soon. It's behind schedule and over budget, but we've got one coming in that's going to add close to 50 beds, but it'll be full very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Planning for a new jail, if that's the proposal that we go to try to solve that problem, it's going to take 5 years. If we do another expansion, we're probably taking 2.5 years. That's an issue. We've got to look at it. Was in a meeting within the last week where we talked about ankle bracelets. They told me that's the incorrect term. It's ankle monitoring devices. But to be able that if we have folks that are the nonviolent, to be able to move them out in the community and be able to keep up with them so we free up a bed for somebody who's more violent. Operating that through community corrections is a way to do it. I've also been a big advocate, and have been since I've got in, that we need to give more money or give some money to the DA's office.
Mm-hmm.
Of the top 15 counties in the state, and we're the number 10 right now, size of it, but of the top 15, we're the only county that doesn't give any funds from the county to the DA's office. Now, the argument is that the DA's office is a state agency, that they should be funded by the legislature, and I get that. In a best possible world, they would be funded from state legislature and have the resources they need. But every study we've seen has said that DAs are underfunded, and that causes a backlog. That means that those people in jail, and the majority of them in jail are not convicted of anything, they're waiting on their cases to be decided, aren't getting in front of a courtroom quickly and being able to move it in. So we have a pouring in the top of the bucket of cases and arrests coming in, and then we've got a constriction at the bottom of that bucket to keep it flowing out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's backing up people in the jail. I think a small investment into the DA's office to help them with a victim service officer or an assistant DA might help us with that and move some of those people out of the jail to help resolve, not solve it, but delay the onset of what we've got to do.
Yeah.
So those are just a few of the things on public safety
Yeah.
that I think need to be addressed.
Yeah, the funding for the DA, that's creative thinking is what that is. And, aside from the practical application of reducing that backlog, you get into constitutional rights, a fair and speedy trial. And it seems like it would help with that as well. So we could talk about that all day, but we got to move on. So we've got 8 municipalities in Limestone County.
Yes, sir.
You got all 8 competing for resources, asking for this, asking for that, and we got all 8 of them are great communities.
Yes, sir.
But you gotta focus your attention somewhere. So if elected, where, and I'm sure you have priorities in each community, but where are you going to focus your attention right out of the gate? And if you can be as specific as possible.
Sure. I've told you before, one of the things I get accused of is focusing too much on East Limestone. And my thing back to that was that's the part of the county I currently represent. Right. That should be my focus right now. Yeah. But we do. We need to work. We have different functions. We have different roles in government between the cities and the county. But we're all on the same team. We've got to work together to try to utilize what we need for the county purposes. Athens is the county seat. It's where the county's operation, much of our operations are based in Athens. So, ultimately that you'll probably see more tension there because of operations that are located there. Mm-hmm. but there needs to be folks where we can have synergies that we can work together. We need to look at, for example, the animal shelter. We have currently a county animal shelter, and the city of Athens has an animal shelter. And we've got two different facilities competing for resources and saying, it's my contention that if we build the new animal shelter for the county, that we build it big enough that we can partner with the city of Athens and be able to have one joint facility so that there's not a question of who's got the jurisdiction over this animal, and we're saving money in the operation. Athens is currently paying an outside vendor to maintain theirs. We've got the same sort of thing with recycling, that there's we've got a recycling center that we've got, the city does some recycling. We need to be able to work together on those issues and complain. The smaller outside of the county seat, if you look there, we need to partner with them and work together. There are times we can use resources together to help make things work. So we may have equipment they need. They may need to have a need that we can jointly work on a project together. We need to be cooperative with each other. We talked about relationships earlier. One of the things I've seen done in other counties that I would love to implement in our county is a quarterly dinner with mayors of the county and county commissioners to get together, not to conduct business or decide where money's spent, but that we get together, bring our spouses, and get to know each other and build those relationships. Mm-hmm. So when there's a need up in Mooresville, and they call and go, hey, can you help us on this, or do you have the ability to do that those relationships are built, the lines of communications are open, and we can move forward. I think those things are helpful. I think we need to improve communications. I had a call the other day from about an issue in Limestone County that's actually in the Huntsville city limits, and trying to decide how we could let Huntsville know about the issue. And there's really not an official chain for us to communicate back and forth with those. We know people, we call people about it, but I'd like to get more formalized lines of communication so that when there's an issue, we can call the right person and try to get it resolved instead of trying to figure out who we need to talk to about an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. You do it in business, right?
Yes, sir.
You have relationships with suppliers, customers, and why wouldn't you do it in government? So that makes a lot of sense. Anything? I didn't mean to cut you off. Anything else on that point?
No, the chairman's got to represent the entire county,
Mm-hmm.
and he's elected by the county. He's got to represent. The needs are diverse in different parts of the counties, but you've got to be able to respond to it. And if I'm elected, I'm going to bring the same kind of focus that I've gave to my district that I currently represent. Responsiveness, returning phone calls, responding to emails, talking to people about issues as I've done in East Limestone, and I want to do that for the entire county.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think a lot of people appreciate the transparency. So, thank you for that. But we gotta talk about this. We can't avoid it. Roads. You're active on Facebook, and I'm sure if you took a poll, that's the number one concern when it comes to people's concerns about the county. What, in your time on the commission, where has Limestone County failed in its responsibility to maintain the road system, and how, as chairman, would you work to resolve that and fix that?
I think historically, not just the time I'm here, but historically, we've been in a reactive mode, not a proactive mode. We haven't set a list of priorities. We haven't made those things. It's which wheel is squeaking, and we respond to that and do that instead of using an approach where we're planning for the future and deciding where we need to be to anticipate. We've got roughly 1,100 miles of road in the county. Last year, we resurfaced or paved 50 miles. At that rate, we're looking at 20 years plus before we can get around to all the roads in the county. And That's not including the fact with the growth is causing us to need intersection upgrades, or turning lanes, possibility of widening roads because of increased traffic coming through. So I think there needs to be an overall plan of how we're going forward, and I think we need to look at putting money towards it. There's been times in the past years that that the county didn't have the money to put in the roads, and they were robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to keep up with it. But right now, we're probably in the best financial shape that we've been in the last 30 years. We finished last year with an $11 million surplus in what we did. This year we're growing, government's grown by 17% in the county. So I'm looking at that money that we're coming in. Part of it is because of the growth. Part of it is because properties are reappraised as property values come in. We're getting increased money off property taxes. And part of it is on wise investments that recruiting our industrial development, recruiting businesses to come to town, and that we have tax abatements that are rolling off that are coming in. This year we're looking at probably $800,000 additional tax money just coming off abatements of businesses that relocated here 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, everybody has something to say about abatements initially, but when they start rolling off, it makes a lot more sense.
When that money comes in. So back to the $11 million. We had $11 million surplus, and I immediately started advocating that if we've got a surplus and we have adequate reserves, we need to be moving money into the road projects. I've done one official survey, and over 60% of the people surveyed said the single biggest need in our county is road infrastructure, specifically roads. I've done an informal poll, not scientific, but an informal poll, and the results track the same thing. The people recognize the fact that we haven't invested in the roads and we're not getting the movement. And they're scared to death that we're going to end up with gridlock the way you do see in Madison on 72. And so folks are starting to look for it. In the western part of the county, it's small farm-to-market roads that are crumbling that haven't had the money to work on those. In the eastern part of the county, it's intersections that are backing up a half a mile at a four-way stop as folks are trying to get to work. So we got, eventually I got it on it was put on the agenda, and it passed unanimously, and we moved $5 million of that surplus into roads. That's $1.25 million for each district that we can put to work and put. I was told that there's no way we can do that much work in 1 year, that we can't do it, that it's not going to happen. And I don't believe that. You're in industry, you run a business. If the money's there and the contract's being let and you can make money off of it, you're going to step up and gear up to meet the need. The contractors in the road building industry are going to do the same thing. If we have the demand for the roads and we'll put the money there, then we can have a private contractor step forward and do the work. We don't have to do it all with county personnel. We contract it out and we get the work done. So we're seeing right now in my part of the county, we're seeing a dramatic impact into lots of subdivisions. Older roads inside subdivisions and roads there that I'm putting the work there. We're doing a roundabout at East Limestone and Capshaw to be able to improve the flow of traffic going to the school, which is getting a new big expansion at East Limestone. And I'm in the planning stages. I don't know that we can get it done this year, but we've already got it on the books, working on the engineering part right now to do another roundabout at Nick Davis and East Limestone. I'm trying to get ahead of what we're doing, that we're trying to meet those needs before they become problem areas that issue. Now, I'll get criticism and get phone calls while they're doing the construction this summer on the roundabout, but once it's done, I think that intersection is going to flow much better, and that we're going to, Capshaw has become a major pipeline of folks going to Madison County when folks trying to avoid 72, and we need to be prepared for it and work for it. So Lastly, I will say if I'm the county chairman and you walk into the office where I am, there will be a board on the wall that's got the top 10 priorities throughout the county that we need to work on in infrastructure. And that every day as I come in or you walk into my office, we can look and go, based on the data that the engineering department gave us, these are the top priorities, and we need to be focusing on them and try to erase those and add new ones to it as we go. That's the kind of planning I think we need to have to manage the roads going forward.
Yeah, I think that would be a welcome change, just the transparency and the simplicity, really. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. Well, we've got time for just one more quick question.
Sure.
So if I'm in the voting booth in May and I see 3 names in front of me, what do you want me to remember about Johnny Turner?
I want you, as you go in, to think about it that you're hiring somebody for a job. The campaign should be an interview process that you're looking forward to hire somebody to go to work for you to do the job you need done. And I think if you look at the qualifications, you look at the background, whether it's my education, whether it's my experience in business, whether it's my experience in finance, whether it's my experience in politics, that I bring the skills and the background to the table that can help prepare us moving forward in this county. I'd ask you to look at the fact that the candidates running and which one are talking about issues, which one are talking about actual things we need to address and have been since they've been in office. And lastly, ask who's the most transparent politician that's on the ballot, who's answering your questions, who's taking the criticism, and who's telling you what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I think if you look at those issues, that the clear decision will be that you'll vote for me. I'm not running on anything other than the fact that I think I bring the skill set to the table that our county needs to move forward into the future.
Yeah, well, easy enough. Yeah, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate your time today. And
Yes, sir.
Just it's been good to get to know you this past couple of years, but wish you the best of luck in May and hopefully this fall. So
Yes, sir.
all right, thanks, Johnny.
Yes, sir.